On Friday, 12 July 2024, the residents of Kware area in Nairobi, Kenya, were called to an abandoned quarry site where they witnessed one of the most horrifying scenes of their lives. The old quarry site had been abandoned for quite a while. It had been filled with water and had also been turned into a refuse dumping site by the residents. At this dump site, numerous green plastic bags, some of which were tied with ropes, were found floating in the water. A man named Wambua, who had worked at the quarry site for 5 years, descended from a rope into the quarry and began pulling out the floating bags. When the first bag was opened, to their greatest horror, human remains at different stages of decomposition were found inside. The shock hit Wambua hard, but what made him even more terrified was the thought of what might be inside the other similar looking bags still floating in the water. Despite his growing fear and anxiety, Wambua summoned some courage and pushed himself to keep going. He pulled up the next bag and then the next. At the end of that Friday, a total of 8 bodies were recovered from the water in the dump site. The search was continued the next day, being Saturday, and 5 more bodies were recovered. Then on Sunday, an additional 2 bodies were also pulled out, bringing the total count to 15. At the end of the recovering process, a total of 42 bodies were pulled out of the dump site, all of which were females believed to be between the ages of 18 to 30. Now, more than this horrific discovery, the story behind how the residents got to even find out about the possibility of human remains being dumped into the quarry is something you'll find even more disturbing. But how did 42 bodies end up in a quarry site that is just 100 meters away from a police station? A quarry site located in an area that is not considered deserted since there are always people around. How were all these corpses dumped in such a place without anyone ever finding out? These were some of the questions wandering through the minds of most people at the time. The residents had their theories, which later sparked an outrage amongst them. They suspected the police of being responsible for the Grisly murders. This was based on the fact that on July 6, 2024, just 6 days before the gripping discovery was made, another body was found floating in a different quarry site. The discovered corpse was that of a 23-year-old student, Denzel Omondi, who was actively involved in the protest against the finance bill in Kenya. He was suspected to have been murdered by the police due to his active participation in the nationwide protest. This protest took place somewhere around the 18th of June, while the human remains were found on the 12th of July, barely a month apart. Omondi had filmed himself walking into the parliament premises along with fellow protesters and then posted the video on social media. He went missing some days after making the post and was later found lifeless floating in the water at a quarry site. Apart from Omondi, it was also publicly speculated that about 41 people were murdered by the Kenyan police, while dozens of activists were brutally abducted and detained during the protest. So, with these incidents in mind and the fact that the dump site was just 100 meters away from the Kware police station, we can't really blame the Kware residents for coming up with the theory of the 42 corpses being possibly dumped by the police. However, the truth of how the bodies ended up there, even though controversial, was far from and even more terrifying than what they actually believed at the time. The journey to the nightmarish discovery began when a 26-year-old female hairbraider named Josephine Owino disappeared from the Mukuru slums on Friday, June 26, 2024, around 9 a.m. According to her sister, Paris Keya, Josephine received a phone call from a male friend. From Keya's observation, her sister was not in any form of distress. She sounded very comfortable with the caller. After the call, she left hurriedly to meet with the unknown friend. But sadly, that would be the last time she would ever be seen alive. The family searched for Josephine for weeks, but couldn't find her. They asked her friends and neighbors about her potential whereabouts, or at least the slightest clue about who she had gone to meet that day, but no one knew anything. Keya then carried a picture of her missing sister to 3 police stations to seek help, but painfully, the police did nothing to help her. According to her, she would sit for hours in the various police stations, cradling her missing sister's toddler, who was regularly crying for her mother, but the police felt nothing for her. At some point, she said she was shaking with anger and frustration. Just when the family was about to lose hope of finding their loved one, something very mysterious happened. Josephine appeared to her sister Kaya in a dream. In the dream, she asked her why she was telling her story to the people who were visiting them at home. Kaya was unable to answer her question since it was a dream. Because of that, Josephine began beating her in the dream. The dreams and beatings went on for a while until one fateful day. In one of those dreams, Kaya found herself outside the house with Josephine. Josephine then led her to a hill and showed her the view from the top. She pointed to where she was staying after her disappearance. Right at where she pointed to, there was a circle of 5 men around. She told Kaya that she was staying at that circle. However, when Kaya turned around, Josephine was gone. Now, it wasn't Kaya alone who had these strange dreams. Josephine also appeared to her cousin, Evelyn. When she first appeared to her, Josephine told her that she was out in the cold, inside water. She then asked Evelyn to come get her. Evelyn woke up and ignored the dream that particular day. But on Thursday, just a day before the horrific discovery was made, Josephine appeared to her again. This time, she gave more details on her whereabouts. In the dream, she said to Evelyn, "My sister, why did you leave me in the cold? I have been stabbed in the thighs and neck. Ask my sister where there is a garbage and come to me there." After this particular dream, the family decided to do something about it. The only location that fits the description given in the dream was the dump site at Kware. On Friday, July 12, 2024, the day after Evelyn's dream, the family went directly to the Kware area and explained their dreams to the residents. They didn't bother involving the police anymore because of their initial unwillingness to help them. Due to how hectic the task ahead would be, Kaya had to pay the youths in order to motivate them to assist her in checking the dump site. Wambua was called to the scene since he had been working in the quarry for about 5 years. Together, the concerned locals visited the dump site. On arrival, they spotted several green bags in the pit. They then suspended a rope and Wambua descended into the pit to start retrieving the bags. On opening the first bag, they found human remains inside. This chilling discovery gave them a dark clue on what to expect from the other similarly looking bags still floating in the pit. Wambua descended back in to pull out more bags. Each bag they recovered and opened spelled the same horror as the first. By the end of that Friday, they had been able to recover 8 bodies. Unfortunately, Josephine was not among them, so they had to continue the search the next day. The following day, being Saturday, the police arrived at the scene, and 5 more were recovered. Additional 2 were recovered on Sunday, bringing the total count to 15 deceased women. The police began their investigation. Now, since all the discovered human remains followed a particular pattern, and the women were believed to have been killed in a similar style, the police were pursuing possible links to cults, serial killers, or rogue medical practitioners. They were also looking into any possible police involvement in the deaths or their failure to act to prevent the murders, since the crime scene was very close to a police station. Meanwhile, the residents of the area were seriously angered by the discovery. 2 families, in addition to Miss Kaya, reportedly said that they had been telling the police in Nairobi that their female relatives were missing, but they got no help from the police. These reports went on for over a month before the grisly discovery was made. The angry citizens staged a protest, asking the police to stop killing them. In reaction to this, the Kenyan police authorities had to transfer all police officers from the Kware police station to prevent interference with their internal investigations. Now, seeing the looming danger, should they choose not to make a major headway in the case, the Kenyan police then sprang into action, and their performance shocked the entire world. After the news broke out, a man named Jairus Omondi was wrongly identified as a suspect in the case. This happened when false information was published online, stating his name as the culprit in the gruesome murders. Jairus was shocked to see his name trending on X, formerly called Twitter. He began getting phone calls and messages from strange numbers, and also death threats. He had to rush down to the police station to clear himself of the allegation. It turned out that Jairus had never for once been wanted by the police for any criminal offense. He was what you would call a model citizen. The police had to issue a statement warning against the wrongful identification of innocent people as suspects. They also pleaded with the masses to exercise patience as they conducted their investigations. This event further mounted pressure on the Kenyan police. a pressure that eventually brought out the very best in them as they pulled off a rare feat by breaking the record time in catching a serial killer. On Monday, July 15, 2024, barely 72 hours after the horrific discoveries, the police announced the arrest of 2 suspects, one of which proceeded to confess to the grisly murder of all 42 women within 24 hours of arrest. I don't intend to take anything from the competency of the Kenyan police, but from what we know about serial killers, it usually takes years to catch them. It took the American police 4 years to catch Ted Bundy. It took them 13 years to catch Jeffrey Dahmer and over 20 years to catch Gary Ridgway. So for the Kenyan police to catch their serial killer within 72 hours, the same killer who was dumping bodies right in front of their police station for over 2 years, and a crime scene that was discovered not by the police but by the residents of the area, despite the fact that it was just 100 meters away from their police station, raised a lot of suspicions that left Kenyan citizens with more questions than answers. Again, it is not my intention to take anything away from the competency of the Kenyan police, but I guarantee you that what you'll find out later in this video will not only surprise you, but will seriously make you question how good they really are. The first suspect in the case was 33-year-old Collins Jumaisi Khalusha. He was arrested at about 3 a.m. that Monday near a Nairobi bar where he had gone to watch the Euro 2024 final between England and Spain. It was also reported that Jumaisi was in the process of luring another female victim named Susan before he was arrested. According to the police, his arrest came after the forensic analysis of a mobile phone belonging to the missing Josephine, the girl who appeared to her family members in their dream. The police traced a mobile money transaction conducted on the day she went missing, and the analysis reportedly led them to Jumaisi. The second suspect was unnamed. According to the police, he was arrested after he was found in possession of one of the mobile phones belonging to one of the victims, whose body was identified at the city mortuary by detectives. Jumaisi Khalusha was the chief suspect in the Grisly murders. On interrogation, he confessed to luring, murdering, and disposing of the 42 female bodies at the dumping site. He also revealed that his first victim was his wife. According to him, he started a business for his wife in 2022, but she squandered the proceeds of the business, causing it to fail. He then started another business for her, but she squandered the proceeds of the business once again. Out of anger and frustration, he murdered her and then disposed of her body in the quarry. Jumaisi revealed that most of his victims were from the same Mukuru slum where he stayed, that he usually picks the women from the streets and sometimes the ones coming to the area to sell airtime. This revelation raised a lot of questions and disbelief among his neighbors. Neighbors said Jumaisi mostly kept to himself and sold SIM cards at the nearby market. They said they saw women visiting him, some of whom stayed over the weekend and socialized with other neighbors, but they never witnessed him treating the women badly or heard any screams or loud noises from his room. One Vincent Olu, a neighbor in the building who had known Jumaisi for almost a year, said it would have been impossible for him to have killed 42 women in such close quarters and get away with it. According to him, everyone there knows about everyone else's business. For context, the place where Jumaisi stayed was like a typical face me I face you house. This is the corridor to his house. You can see other single rooms in the building, so maybe Vincent had a valid point, but the way things would later turn out will leave a lot of things in doubt. Jumaisi went on to reveal that he usually took away the belongings of his victims and then either gave them to his friends or sold them. This included mobile phones, clothes, cash, bags, and other valuables. According to the police, Jumaisi claimed that the horrifying act was motivated by the hatred he developed for his late wife after she squandered her businesses twice. After these confessions, Jumaisi led the police to his one-room house, located just 100 meters from where the remains were found. In the house, the police found a machete, nylon sacks similar to the ones found in the quarry, rope, a pink female handbag, and female underwear. A brother of one of the victims was able to identify the pink handbag as her sister's own. Jumaisi was arraigned in court the next day, being Tuesday, where he made another troubling confession. On Tuesday, 16 July 2024, Jumaisi appeared before the Makadara Law Court, where he made a disturbing claim. Jumaisi told the court, through his attorney, that he was beaten and forced to confess to the 42 murders. His lawyer told the court that when he first met Jumaisi, he was writhing in pain and needed urgent medical care, and also that when he tried to meet his client a few days back, some police officers blocked him. In his words, anybody fearing for his or her life would say whatever his oppressors want to hear. He also added that the whole case negates common sense. The lawyer also pleaded with the court to grant Jumaisi access to medical care due to the inhumane treatment he suffered during interrogation. The police, however, countered his claim of police brutality by stating that only one officer was assigned to record Jumaisi's statement. The magistrate also didn't buy Jumaisi's claim of forced confession. She allowed the police to detain him at any police station of their choice for the requested period of 30 days in order to allow them to complete their investigations. Jumaisi was taken to the Gigiri police station for his 30-day detention. On hearing this verdict, the families of victims, residents, and even law enforcement may have heaved a huge sigh of relief, but they had absolutely no idea about the daredevil plan that Jumaisi will pull off in the coming weeks while in detention. Meanwhile, when all this was going on, something else happened that raised additional questions to the numerous ones on ground. The dump site where the 42 bodies were recovered mysteriously caught fire, destroying the crime scene and any other possible remains that were yet to be recovered. No one knew how the fire came about, and the fact that the quarry was filled with water makes it more unlikely that the fire was natural. It appeared to be an intentional act to destroy the crime scene, but who would have done that, and what exactly were they trying to hide? On Wednesday, 17 July, just a day after Jumaisi had appeared in court, the police revisited Jumaisi's house together with him. They spent over 5 hours searching his one-room apartment. The police found additional evidence during their search. This included a hammer, a dressing mirror with fingerprints, 4 pairs of women's shoes, and other items. They also recovered ropes and a notebook containing hospital receipts with the name of a woman. The team was sent to the hospital on the receipts to confirm if the woman was indeed attended to there. These recent discoveries raised another set of questions as to how the police were not able to find this evidence during their first visit on Monday, the day Jumaisi was arrested, especially when you consider the fact that it was just a single-room apartment. On Tuesday, August 20, 2024, Jumaisi pulled off a daredevil plan that shocked the entire citizens of Kenya. Around 5 a.m. that Tuesday morning, the police officers on duty had gone to serve breakfast to the inmates. On opening the cell door, they discovered that the wire mesh in the basking bay, a fenced area in the station where detainees go to receive fresh air, had been cut. They did a quick check and found out that 13 prisoners had escaped by passing through the cut mesh and scaling the perimeter wall. 12 out of the 13 prisoners were Eritrean nationals who were detained for entering the country illegally. The 13th prisoner was none other than Jumaisi Khalusha. The police authorities figured that this couldn't have been possible without the help of insiders, so they suspended and detained all 8 policemen, including the station commanders who were on duty the night of the prison break. 5 out of the 8 detained police officers were charged in court for their alleged involvement in the jailbreak. The Kenyan Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, issued a wanted notice on Thursday, August 22, 2024, appealing to the public for information that could lead to Jumaisi's rearrest. Now, there are a lot of questions about this case. It would even surprise you to know that the Kenyan citizens were very doubtful about this case when the story first broke out, primarily because the discovery happened in the period they were still protesting. They saw it as a ploy by the government to divert their attention from the planned protest. They also questioned the ability of their police to solve such a high-profile case in record time, adding that it's either their police got too good or they just brought in an innocent person to calm the public. When Jumaisi was first arrested, a lot of people didn't know about him. It was later on that they got to interview his mother and family members. Jumaisi's family had not seen him since 2022, the same year he reportedly began his serial killing. The mother said that at some point she thought he was dead. It was also reported that most of the victims were from the same slum where Jumaisi lived. Even though some families reported going to the police about their missing relatives, 42 persons is quite a large number to not garner enough attention even among the locals. Regarding his arrest, Jumaisi claimed he wasn't guilty and that he was beaten and forced to confess to the 42 murders. He and his lawyer maintained this claim till the day he escaped. I know we shouldn't expect a lawyer to tell his client to plead guilty easily, but what if Jumaisi was indeed forced to make the confession? Now, concerning his escape from prison, how was he able to bribe the guards to let him and others escape? He didn't look like a rich person who would make a very tempting offer to about 8 police officers to help him break out of prison. So how was Jumaisi, a high-profile suspect, able to pull this off while in detention? Also, it is a bit strange that it was only foreigners who escaped along with him. According to the police, other prisoners believed to be Kenyans stayed behind, and the police claimed they were helping with the investigation. There is also a question about the old quarry site. Why was the dump site, an active crime scene, set on fire? This place should have been protected and access highly restricted. So why didn't the police do that? All these unanswered questions are the reasons why many Kenyans were skeptical about this case, with some of them calling it a fabricated lie or script sold to the citizens to help certain people in power get away with genocide. I believe that there is more to this story than meets the eye. A lot of things don't add up, and the efforts made by the police so far are not convincing enough. The case started out by presenting the Kenyan police as super cops who could catch a serial killer in a record 3 days, only for it to take a dynamic twist in a month to expose the rot in their system. I will leave you with this last question. Is it possible that Jumaisi was made to take the fall for this crime, with the promise that he would be broken out of prison later? Let me know your take on this case in the comments below. Also note that at the time of making this video, Jumaisi was still on the run and the case was still under active investigation. So make sure to like, subscribe, and most importantly, turn on the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I publish an update on this case. Thank you for watching and stay safe.